Let's go.
Hey, this is Gale Nelson, President and CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters Miami, the host of A Little in Common podcast. I'm pleased to have with me today a physicist, an author, and not only that, a leadership coach. Randy, welcome.
Great to be here, Gale.
Absolutely. So Randy Lyman is a leadership coach, and Randy, you said something to me before we started pre-show. You said it's not about me, it's the message. So what is that message as it relates to leadership?
Success is all about helping the people we lead be successful, helping them find their power, helping them become the best they can be.
And when we think about power, so there's people that work for a living, that are running companies, those who work for them, that sometimes feel that, one, I don't have enough power, and power does something to the mind, Randy, sometimes in not so good ways.
That's ego. That's part of the human experience. We are human beings. We are human. We have an ego. We have personality. We're supposed to, but we're also spiritual beings here on a path to figure out how to navigate the planet and how to appreciate each other at a deeper level, how to appreciate life at a deeper level. That's the spiritual side. That's the deeper side. That's the side that I find the most fulfillment in. And ironically, when we focus on that from a position of leadership, then we find more material success as well.
We talk about success. We all want that personally, professionally. When I think about leadership, and I just love leadership, leading people, and I love the human connection because that's what mentorship is all about. Randy, as I think about, we talked about power. Why do leaders struggle? Because everybody wants to win, quote unquote, to be successful, whether that's your bottom line profit and loss statement, whether that's in our case, Big Brothers Big Sisters Miami. Winning in our case is we serve kids. We're, of course, running a business. But why do leaders struggle, Randy?
Well, first they struggle internally because if they're not comfortable with who they are and they're trying to play a part rather than be authentic, that's a huge challenge. And then in a position of leadership, a lot of times it's lonely because other people don't have the same drive as us, and that's okay. They have their own priorities. But if they don't have the same mission, the same drive that we have, then they often don't hear us until we understand how to communicate with those people we lead.
And so when it comes to not being comfortable, in your experience, and give me some examples of, share as much as you can and as much as you're able, of leaders you've worked with that struggled internally and with you leading them, coaching them, because we got to be coachable.
I'm going to go back and talk about my own mistakes.
Well, let's talk about that.
Okay, so I'll start with in my 20s, everything was forced, everything was masculine. This is what we're going to do. Damn it, just get the job done.
Yeah.
Okay, but the reason I believe that especially men are that way is aside from our masculine traits are to be aggressive. If we go back to junior high and high school, as boys and young men, we're trying to figure out our place in life. And if we show compassion and caring and any kind of softness, we're attacked verbally and often physically. So we learn to fight our way through the world. And then we get out of high school and maybe we go to college, maybe we don't, we get out in the workplace. It's not the same anymore. It's not just a bunch of young egos trying to find their way, but we don't know that because we don't have that many good examples of leaders who can show up being calm and clear and authentic. And so all we remember is we have to fight our way through. We have to prove ourselves. So me as a leader, I thought I always had to be right. I thought I always had to be in control of everything, every detail. And I was worried that if I wasn't in control of all the details and I wasn't always right, I would lose people's respect. And so that caused me to put on a facade. I was playing a part rather than being my true self. Now, still in my 20s, I didn't know who my true self was, but more importantly, I was trying to be somebody important. And that kills every possibility of being a great leader. For a leader to be great, it's never about us. As soon as it's about us, then we lose our influence, we lose our focus, and we lose the respect of those people we're there to lead.
I love that. And thank you for sharing that. When I've heard Power equals influence. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm going to talk about what power means from a physicist's point of view.
All right.
Power is the ability to accomplish work. So if I'm a leader, that means I can't do all the work myself. I'm leading a group of people, whether it's 2 people or 2,000 people. I'm leading a group. And they're the ones who are going to do the work. Now, I'm going to contribute and I'm going to be a part of that. But the only way for me to get the most work done is to create an environment where those people who I'm leading feel appreciated, acknowledged, they feel like they're contributing, and they feel like they belong. And when they know that I'm on their side and I'm going to help them win, then they're not guarded. They show up, they do their best, and they work better together, and we accomplish more. So again, work is or power is the ability to accomplish work. My work as a leader is dependent on the people I lead, and the effectiveness of the people I lead is dependent on the environment I set for them and how much I'm able to help them find their power through an environment that's comfortable, that's respectful, that appreciates them, and that brings out the best in everyone I lead.
We're here on a Little Uncommon podcast with author, physicist, and leadership coach Randy Lyman. And Randy, I love this. Let's stay with power. So it sounds like, based on what you're saying, and I certainly believe it and know it to be true, where that team concept, everybody has a role to play. You're doing your job. I support you. And what's beautiful about that, back to leadership being lonely, if I'm not comfortable in my skin, I'm not letting go of stuff. That younger Randy, you shared that. I'm not letting go of it, Randy. So it takes strength to empower.
Well, because I had fear.
Yes.
Am I going to be respected? Am I going to be successful? And so again, I played a part to try and be effective, and that took away my power. It made my own life miserable, and I had to deal, aside from work, which influenced work, but aside from work, I had to deal with my anger and frustration about the world because the world wasn't like I was told it was. The world is not about being smart and working hard. Yes, those 2 things are really important, but what I found is the world is about how we find clarity within ourselves, how we connect with the people that we love at home, how we connect with the people we lead at work and in the community. And so when I got through the outer layer of anger, then underneath I found levels of abandonment, emotions around betrayal, emotions around disappointment. And I had to work through those emotional wounds from when I was young. And everybody, I don't care how perfect their childhood is, people have trauma. Now, some have some really huge trauma, and I did not have to suffer that. And for those who did and have made it through it, I applaud them. But the average person has been embarrassed in a social setting. They've failed maybe in a sport, or they didn't win a game they wanted to win, and that's traumatic for a child who's trying to find their way. Well, we internalize that because when we're young, if you go back to when you and I were young a few years ago,
a few years,
it was definitely about, no, there's no crying in baseball, right? So,
that's right.
And then now you go to today, and even today it's tough for people to truly express their emotions because they're afraid they're going to be judged. So whatever emotions that are valid at the moment and that we're meant to feel as human beings as part of our guidance system, when the moment passes, that emotion is no longer valid for guidance. And if we didn't feel it completely and release it, experience all of it, part of that's stored within our being. And the law of attraction, as God helps us co-create our reality for us through in resonance with our thoughts and resonance with our actions and in resonance with those old emotions that are bigger than time and space that we didn't feel, we're reminded through irritations in real time, we're reminded of the old emotions that we didn't let go of completely. And if we don't make the connection between, oh, this is really irritating me, bothering me, pissing me off today on the outside world, and I just try and change the outside world, I can't change the outside world. But now if I say, oh, this is a reminder of an old trauma, an old experience that I can go back and don't have to even understand it with my brain, but I can feel that pain come through my body, that frustration come through my body through breath work, through EFT tapping, through working out, acupuncture, journaling, exercises in gratitude and an attitude of gratitude and feeling in the moment. What do I have to feel? Then we let all those emotions go. Now I show up more clear, more calm, and without my own personal trauma and baggage getting in the way of being a great leader.
You got the cool cowboy hat on, so I got to use this term. People can be triggered. And when we think about adverse child in our world, youth development, working with families, mentorship, many of the littles that we deal with, Randy, and also the adults, adverse childhood experiences, what you just talked about. And if they're not dealt with, then that young Randy and that young Gale are now adult Randy and adult Gale, leading people. And what are some of those common triggers you see? I mean, I know, of course, people can be angered. What are some of those triggers you've seen with some leaders that you deal with?
Anger is a cover-up for other emotions,
Yes,
typically.
sir. Absolutely.
And it's a tool I used to protect myself from having to feel what was underneath. So the best way I find to deal with emotions, especially for leaders who want everything to be logical,
Right.
is sit down and write down your challenges. And I used to say 3 columns. Now I say 4. So the left column is, what's my problem? What do I want to change in the outside world? What's bothering me? The second column, what's a logical solution? Now I might fix it with a logical solution, but then I want to go to the third column and I want to say, where's my judgment on this? Am I judging myself because I'm not getting the job done? I'm disappointed in myself. Am I judging the people around me? Am I judging whatever it might be? That's helpful, a little closer to what I'm really looking for. And the last one is, what do I feel? What's the underlying emotion? So I have this problem in the external world, and there are some logical solutions, typically. But more importantly, where am I judging people? Where am I getting emotionally involved with my thoughts? And then where's the underlying feeling, the emotion? I have the opportunity, if I choose to, be brave. If I'm brave enough to dig into that emotional wounding and feel it in whatever way I can feel it, then I find a lasting answer. But if I fix the outside world today, it's going to pop up again tomorrow, and then the next day, and the next day, and I never really fix the source of the challenge, which is always us.
So a lot of times I've heard we address the symptoms, but we don't address the core issue, which is what I'm hearing. Let's talk about sports for a minute. When I say sports in the context of leadership, the player that's viewed as passionate, then you got the player that's kicking the water cooler. 2 types of leadership, huh?
2 types of leadership. Sometimes passionate leaders are still driving from a place of trauma and from internal pain. Every one of us channels our own internal pain differently, but for most people, I'm not saying everybody, most people 30 years and younger, they've got trauma and they're not even aware of it.
Yeah.
And it depends a lot of times on our environment. It depends on the mentors we had. It depends on what examples we saw. So if we had a great mentor, a great example, a great family member who said, I'm frustrated today, I'm angry today, I'm lonely today, and they want to talk about their emotions and openly and say, this is what I'm feeling, and this is how I'm going to deal with it, and this is how I'm going to deal with it in a positive way, and this is how we're going to turn this into something that's useful. Then those people, when they become older, they're in a team sport, and they have that frustration come up, they understand what's going on. And they can understand it for themselves, they can share it with others, and they can use it as a learning opportunity for others. So the most powerful leaders today, and there's a lot of kids today who are emotionally aware,
Yes.
and they can express their emotions clearly to the people they lead, and they can help others get in touch with their emotions. And for me, if we can't do that, especially in today's world, then we're not going to be as effective as we can be as leaders, because the time and place of the world today is about the emotional revolution. You go back 100 years ago, we had the Industrial Revolution. Then you go back over the last 30 years, we have the computer age or the information age revolution. Evolution of man through industry, through thoughts, thinking, and computers. And now the final frontier, so to speak, and the most important is the emotional evolution of man, meaning that we're going to become aware of our emotions. We're going to learn to process through our emotions, not use our emotions to make decisions, not use our emotions to manipulate people, but to become aware of our emotions, feel that, and let it go, especially if it's negative. And sometimes some people feel positive emotions, and they were told as kids, nope, you can't be happy. You can't be proud. You can't share that. But when we can truly be aware of what we're feeling, find clarity, find release, then the people around us are going to see us in a different light. They're going to learn from us, and our connections are going to be deeper.
Connection. We invest in society in roads and bridges. We invest in digital connectivity, investment in the human connection. As we think about mentorship and what we do, with all the resources technologically that we have, AI and all of that, pros and cons, leadership and the human connection. Let me just double click on that again. Leadership and the human connection, as we discussed with Randy Lyman, physicist, author, leadership coach. The human connection, never losing sight of that. How important is that for leaders, Randy?
I'll tell you, as a physicist and a business owner for 40 plus years, the connection is more important than the planning. Planning's still important.
Yes, sir.
The connection is more important than the hard work. Hard work's still important. But if I'm not able to connect with people and get the best out of them, I'm leaving money on the table, so to speak. I'm leaving potential on the table. I'm leaving deeper experiences on the table. So now when I take the time and I invest myself through my own emotional healing, my own emotional awareness, and help the people I'm working with be more emotionally aware and acknowledge them on an emotional level. We don't have to talk about emotions. I simply have to acknowledge them, help them feel like they're contributing, help them feel like they belong, and create an environment where they're respected. Now their thoughts are more effective, their actions are more effective, and whatever we're doing as a team, as a group, whether it's in the community, whether it's at work, whether it's between a big and a little, now we are connected and we are more effective, and we're not leaving potential on the table.
I love that, leaving potential on the table. Our vision is that all children achieve their full potential, all youth achieve their full potential. That's through connection, through communication, and again, that conducive, the 3 C's, if you will, I just made up, the environment, if you will, an environment conducive to, it's okay for you to share. And so speaking of sharing and your journey, Randy, who mentored you? As you think about what you do now, you're coaching business leaders. You're a physicist. You're an author. We're going to talk about your book as well. Who mentored you, and what did they teach you?
In 1989, at the age of 28, I met a woman by the name of Maria, and we spent 3 years together as romantic partners. And she was more advanced than me, and she was already on a path of spiritual growth.
Okay.
And her interaction with everybody was on a caring, loving level. Mine was all about intellect and hard work, and I had turned off my emotions. And so she introduced me to that third element, the emotional component of being human. So I learned a lot from her. And then who I really learned a lot from in life, and I still learn from today, is people who are bold enough to say with compassion, Randy, I disagree with you. There's another way to do this. And I like a lot of what you're doing, but I think you have more potential, and I would like you to hear what I have to say and take a look at things from my point of view. And when people did that for me with compassion, I didn't like it. Now, today, I welcome it. But at first, I didn't like it at all. But when they pointed out areas where I could improve, and they were bold enough to disagree with me, even when they worked for me, and they were bold enough to disagree with me from a place of caring and compassion, and I heard them, and I said, all right, I want to be the best I can be. I'm going to do my best to put my ego aside and listen. So when we have a boss who is not treating us well, we don't have to attack them. First, we work through our own issues around what does this trigger within me? What am I feeling? Am I feeling belittled? Am I feeling unrespected? Am I angry? Am I feeling abandoned? Work through our own issue. Now I can go and talk to this person and say, hey, I love you. I love everything you're doing, or you're doing these things great, but I think there's more in you, and I bet you could find ways to do this better. And I know I'm being critical of you, but it's because I really care about you and I want to see you succeed. I wish people did more of that.
Randy, it sounds like it goes back to, if I'm comfortable in my skin, coming from a place of care and compassion, what I emit, what I share, what I communicate is going to be better received. And I love your point. We don't want people around us as leaders that always agree with us because you're the boss, so you know everything. I love that. And it's not pushback from a competitive or a conflicting, contentious standpoint. It's to make us better.
How do we do this better together?
How do we do it better together? That's team.
That's team. And then also, if you have somebody out there has somebody who they want to communicate with and they don't want to step up and say it verbally, write it down.
Yes.
Take 2 or 3 days, take 2 weeks, write it out. So when I communicate in writing, I have to become clear about what my message is. What do I want to say? I have to be clear in my mind. Then I have to write it clearly so that I understand it in writing on paper, and then I have to look at it again and say, is the person reading this going to understand it? So when I hand somebody something and I say, okay, read this, I'm clear, it's in writing, and it doesn't change. If I say something verbally, within minutes they heard, well, first of all, they might not even hear me. They hear what they want to hear. Within minutes, they change the story, and a week later, the story is completely different. When somebody writes it down, even if it's just a note you want to hand to somebody, that doesn't change over time.
That's exactly right.
So if you're not bold enough to say, God, I don't want to really bother this person, write it out, become clear, and when you're ready, the words will be there on paper. Share it with the person. Start with something positive, deliver your message in the middle of what you're writing, and finish with, I love working with you. I know we can do better together. When we can take the time to write out what we want to say, and we can hand it to somebody, it's much safer than saying it out loud. And by the time we're ready to hand it to them, and we have that clarity, then it's easy to deliver the message. And it's a lot safer, and they're going to hear us completely. And also, they're going to pay attention, because how many leaders are used to somebody caring enough about them to communicate in writing?
That's right. Something that will help. Typically, when someone says, I got something I've taken time to write down and hand to you, leader, you know what that typically is? You're talking resignation letters. Here's what I'm concerned with, but here's something that can help us. You've taken the time from care and compassion to hand me something that can help us.
And so
that's powerful.
And if I hand this to whoever's leading me and they take it badly, then I know I'm probably in the wrong place.
There you go.
And I did the best I could, and I understand that I can express myself, and I'm going to end up in a better place. Maybe not in the short term, but in the long term, the truth and clear communications will always win in the long term.
Something I've said quite often, when leaders fail to listen, they fail to lead. And you're just reiterating and reinforcing some of the basic tenets. Because as I think about my leadership journey, Randy, and we're going to talk about that book, The Third Element, just coming up. But as I think about just the comfort, the confidence on my leadership journey, I remember starting over 30 years ago as a young leader and asking someone, one of my direct reports, when you get things like, well, when you get the time, if you would, just get this to me whenever you can. I look back on that and I'm thinking, I wasn't comfortable in my skin as a leader. And now it's the intentionality, the clarity, not being rude or mean to someone, but I got a position, I'm a leader. I don't apologize for that. If I'm going to treat you like a human being, I got a job to do, you got a job to do.
Their success depends on your success.
There you go. There you go. And so with that in mind, talking to my board of directors, those to whom I'm accountable, their success, my success, intertwined to your point as well. So the third element, the key to activating the law of attraction. Hand me that book there, Randy, if you don't mind, sir.
No.
And so we're gonna log in that camera on this. The third element by Randy Lyman, the key, the missing key. I almost missed that. The missing key to activating the law of attraction. Randy, talk to me about the book.
So the book is about my journey, my experience, how I started out so left brain and was not necessarily unaware of my emotions, but I did my best to turn them off, to shut them off, to avoid them. And as I started to understand the emotional component of being human, then I realized how much pain I was ready to let go of. I work through letting go of that. I share examples of how I found more success in business through dealing with my emotions. I explain from a physicist's perspective how the world is created from us. I explain from a scientist's perspective how the world is created for us moment to moment in response to our thoughts, our actions, and our emotions. And nuclear physics, quantum physics today is talking all about this. It's based on discoveries 99 years ago, 1927. And when we realize, which I explained in the book, that nothing, in my opinion, is random, and we have influence over everything in our life, then we're more careful with our thoughts, we're more deliberate with our actions, and then we have incentive to be aware of our emotions and work through our emotional trauma. Now, it's still messy, it's still painful, it's still a challenge, but I show through examples in my life how my journey to get through my emotional pain brought me so much more success in all areas of my life. And that's the reason I wrote the book, is I want people to have a better life. I want people to not feel frustrated. I want people to be empowered. I want people to say, I can make my life better, and I'm going to work on myself. And I'm going to start to care also. Through awareness of our emotions, we become aware of how the people around us respond to us. And most people respond emotionally. So when we treat them with respect, when we treat them with care, when we see them for who they are at a deeper level, then they respond better, our relationships improve, and our life improves.
What I found, Randy, and thank you for that, and the third element, the missing key to activating the law of attraction. I taught my kids this. I certainly believe it, because when teaching me anything I don't believe, the mindset you have going into something. When I go into a meeting, there's a mindset. When I coach youth sports, I remember vividly coaching elementary age kids, a little boys basketball team, youth sports team. And these little kids afraid to let their parents down. They're on the court looking at mom and daddy. The daddies are a little overzealous, yelling at them and all of that, literally yelling at them. And I pulled them in and I said, winning is a mentality. I remember that I still remember that to this day. And one of the parents, back when we had VHS videotape,
Oh, yeah, I remember.
He showed me the old video and I'm like, winning is a mentality. So I'm like sitting here projecting all these little babies around me. But it is. Winning is a mentality, Randy. If a leader doesn't feel we can win, doesn't empower the team, and in a winning environment, why is that so important in your mind? And we've talked about it, but as a physicist, the mindset, the perspective before the business challenge.
Everything that we accomplish, good or bad, on this planet,
Yes, sir.
starts out as an idea in our mind. Now, we have to engage our body. We should engage at an emotional level to either find clarity or to motivate the people around us. But we have a thinking mind, and that's our most powerful tool to guide us. Now, again, we're going to have to look at all three, our mind, our body, and our emotions.
Yes.
But it starts with the intent. It starts with the idea. It starts with the goal. It starts with the plan. And if the intent is clear and the mind is headed in the right direction, then everything else will follow.
Well, Randy, I got one more question for you, sir. I've loved this conversation. Well, two more things. Before we close, you, a few months back, came to visit us here at Big Brothers Big Sisters Miami. We had an all-staff meeting, and I'm watching my team. I'm watching senior management, all the staff members. You spoke, cowboy hat as well. You spoke, and I don't know what they expected, but I saw how they responded. Lines of people coming up to you, asking questions, and the engagement. You certainly struck a nerve, and I say this in all the right ways, in the most positive way. So one, thank you for visiting with us, motivating our staff, encouraging our staff, coaching our staff, because we're partnering with, teaming up with parents and children who, when we talk about trauma, that fight, flight, or freeze. So I just want to say thank you. What was your takeaway after leaving this session you had with our team?
Your team is so full of heart. These people want to serve the children. They want to serve the mentors. They want to serve their community. They want to make a difference. They know that at some level, they know when they get to the end of their life and they look back that they can be proud of what they're doing today. And they have every reason to feel good about being a part of the organization and what your organization accomplishes. Not accomplishes material-wise, but in the growth of individuals, and that's what affects the world more than anything else.
As we talk about the missing key in activating the law of attraction, what role does mentorship play, Randy?
Huge. I had mentors who helped me in accounting. I had mentors who helped me in sales. And I had people who spoke up and helped me become a better leader because they were able to expose areas for improvement. And I had a lot of great people who set examples for me as well. And I still look to people for ideas. I still have so much to learn in my life. And so when I walk into any situation, I watch the leader and how do they act, what do they say, and how do they interact with the people they lead. So I'm still learning every day.
You were watching me. One of the things that stuck out before, because you were the last piece on our agenda, the last item on our agenda, if you will. And I could not help but notice you watching me. And there's no wrong answers here. And here we are in the Little in Common podcast. What did you learn about me? No wrong answers based on your observation and then my interaction with my team.
As you pointed out some areas where people could improve, you also let them know they were capable of improving. You let them know you believed in them, and you let them know you were there to support them every step of the way on the journey, through whether it's just the daily grind or whether it's finding a way to improve. And you said it, and they felt it, and you're there to help them.
I appreciate that because it's the same thing I expect and want from my board of directors, because I'm accountable to the board, singular report to the board, and that old, the golden rule, just do unto others. So it's amazing how it full circle back to the human connection. You got to tell me about the cowboy hat as part of your brand. What was the first time you put on a cowboy hat? And tell me the significance of the cowboy hat today, because you look good in it too.
I don't know how long I've been wearing a cowboy hat, but recently I found a picture of me at 4 years old in a cowboy hat.
Are you serious?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
It's at Christmas time, and I got my cowboy hat and this stunned look on my face and my 2 little toy guns. So, and so I've been wearing a cowboy hat a long time. And then also, I get sunburned real easy. So,
I got you. So it helps down here in South
yeah,
Florida.
it helps with the sun, helps keep me warm. And it's a great conversation starter as well.
It certainly is. Did any of your mentors wear a cowboy hat? No. I'm just curious.
No.
What's your favorite Western?
Oh, my goodness.
Now, so I'm making an assumption that cowboy hat, you've watched a few Westerns in your day.
Sakes. Okay, so what used to be my favorite Western was Butch Cassidy and the Sundance
There you
Kid.
go.
Now, I watch it today, it's slow, it's boring.
Perspective.
But it was also about leadership.
It was.
And about strength but caring, and compassion and balance. And so that's my answer.
Well, Randy, thank you for spending time with us again today. As we think about mindset, perspective, success, we're so pleased to have with us today the conversation with Randy Lyman, physicist, author of The Third Element, the missing key to activating the law of attraction, and leadership coach. No matter where you lead, or even if you are following, different talents, different abilities, different experiences, but at the end of the day, we all have a little in common. Let's go.